Well, good evening. Welcome and happy holidays to the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District Facebook Live event, which is also being streamed on YouTube and Periscope. I'm going to take a couple moments here to make sure that we are streaming effectively. And I'll also ask those of you that are logging on to share it on your own mobile device. I can see that it is on mine, which makes me know that the process is working. So we are going to wait for a couple seconds here to let people log on. And then I will, as we continue to do over the past couple months, I'll set the table and let you know what we're doing here tonight. So this is great. It looks like we have a lot of people already starting to log on. And so I'm going to jump right into this. So tonight we are closing out 2020. It's really hard to believe that we're already at year end and that we're coming to the end of 2020. And this is going to be the last update, State of the District, that I will be giving. And we'll be coming back to you in the near future in 2021. I'll reinforce this as we get to conclusion of this meeting here tonight. But we want to make sure that we're not having these events just to have these events. We did this on Monday, and we're doing it again today on Wednesday because Mondays don't work for some folks. And we also want to give those the opportunity not to be there to have the opportunity to be here. And if there's anything that I maybe stated that people thought about after the fact, we wanted to provide a second opportunity for folks to be able to comment or ask questions if they were to have any. So this is a repeat of what we did on Monday night, and we're doing it again here tonight. And I thank you, those that are here, and I ask you to continue to share. And so let's just jump right into it. Again, my name is Brian Helmick. I am the Fire Chief of the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. And if you are a resident or a business in Brentwood, Oakley, Knightson, Bethel Island, Discovery Bay, Byron, Discovery Bay, or Marsh Creek, Morgan Territory, I just want to let you know this messaging is for you. This is an opportunity for us to be able to continue to educate and inform you on all things about the fire district. The format for tonight is going to be how we usually do the State of the Districts. I'll finish up this housekeeping and setting the table for what happens here tonight. We'll be showing a short video, and then we'll go into the most important component, the question and answer session. Any questions that you ask, they don't have to be relevant to what I talk about in the State of the District or the video I'm going to show. It can be anything related to fire protection and your fire district, because we do want to make sure that you have access to relevant, updated, and good information. So I do thank you again for being here. We do ask for you to share because we want to get this information out to as many people as we possibly can. To start tonight, we're going to be showing a video. It's called The Day in the Life of an East Contra Costa Fire Protection District Firefighter. As many of you know, we have service level challenges. The district is working diligently daily to eliminate our service level deficits. But the realities that we have on a daily basis are very real for our members. They continue and they have adapted and overcome on a daily basis for a long period of time to provide our citizens the best level of services, the resources they have. We know not only are we underfunded, but we know they do not have the appropriate amount of tools to be effective at the job that they're called to do. And that makes it difficult for us to meet the mission of the organization. And so we're going to watch a video here about the day in the life. I will provide an update in the State of the District, and we'll go directly into a Q&A. So again, thank you for being here. Please share this. If you're starting to think about what your questions are going to be, whatever platform you're on, from YouTube, Facebook, and or Periscope, please start populating your questions now. The support team will start to collect those, and they'll put them in the order they come in, and then we'll start addressing them here in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We do plan on tonight going approximately about an hour, and we'll work to address all the questions that we have. So again, thank you. Please share it. Happy holidays. I don't take this opportunity for granted. I have access to you, and I hope you enjoy the video, The Day of Life of an East Contra Costa Firefighter.
Working at East Contra Costa, it's very demanding due to our lack of resources. We're putting in long hours, we're up all night, we're going to multiple calls all day long.
The worst that we can go through sometimes is where you get up at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., and 5 a.m. It just breaks up the night to where you're a zombie by the time you leave.
Our area is supposed to have more fire stations to cover. We have a very large area, very few resources.
Only one fire station in Oakley, one fire station in Brentwood, one fire station in Discovery Bay. We're covering 249 square miles. It's a lot of distance to travel. Each of our stations is responding to so many more calls than what we did in the past.
I believe the station averages in the realm of 13 calls a day, which when you factor in a call on average, I would say it takes at least an hour. So 13 hours of your day is on a call, let alone what you're doing to prep.
The less resources we have, the more time we're having to spend at the fire scenes to be able to get those fires under control, and then we end up missing or not being able to respond in a timely manner to vehicle accidents or medicals or other fires.
We're putting in more work per se than an average department because they're getting 5 engines to a call, 6 engines to a call, and we're getting 2 to 3. We're doing the work of 15 to 18 guys with 9. We have to use different strategies and tactics to fight fire because we can't plan on guys being right there behind us. And in structure fires, time is your friend and your enemy. So physically it's taxing, mentally it's tough.
When you get on scene of a fire and you feel that there's not much you can do because you don't have enough resources and you see what the potential is, it's frustrating. And it gives you a sense of hopelessness, of feeling that something is going to get worse and it's going to damage people's homes and it's going to spread beyond because we just don't have enough help out there and it's not coming soon enough. Unfortunately, because we don't have the resources, we have to try to do the most good with the least amount.
More resources, more stations, more engines. That's the bottom line. We're making it work with what we have, barely, but we're still so far behind the curve. If we have more stations, more engines, more personnel, it's better for everybody.
It's fire season with only 9 firefighters on duty today across all East Contra Costa. Please stay safe and alert.
Well, thank you for watching that video. That video is very telling. It does give you just a glimpse. For those of you that don't work within our agency, our members live it every day, and we've been doing that. We've been understaffed for a long period of time, and our members have become somewhat conditioned to living in these unsustainable environments. And so with that being said, look, our response times are double the national average of what they should be. We have half of the fire stations today that we should have. We have a growth challenge that is going to compound our problem if it isn't addressed effectively. And so the reason I come in front of you tonight, again, is to continue to provide you accurate, relevant information about what the fire board, the fire staff, and our firefighters are working together collectively to do, to be able to address our historical challenges and what we're doing every single day. We were doing this somewhat frequently in the beginning of 2020, all the way up until August. And many of you know that have listened to the updates in the past, is that the district started supporting and encouraging and looking at different measures that were going for election in November of this year. And the reasoning we position ourselves is because we're underfunded fire district. We're trying to seek revenue from any source. We're not, we're trying to seek feasibility under every single rock. And we started to position ourselves to say that there were certain measures that we were hoping would pass. And once it got into election season and it got to a point that we knew certain things were moving forward and the board was endorsing them, legally, it was just wise for the fire district to pause and not do as much outreach and information, because advocating creates some legal complexities that we wanted to guard and distance ourselves from. So we have been somewhat silent to some degree on the outreach component since August, September of this last year, but we're back. And so tonight, what the goal is for me to do is to bring you up to speed on what we have done, not only from September to date and what's going to be coming forward in the next couple months as we go into the new year. I also want to let folks know this is being recorded. This is going to be archived, as all of our Facebook Live events are. You can go to the district's website. There's a wealth of information there, not just about the organization, but also about all the videos that we do for the state of the district, the town halls, and all of the events that are available to you. And I strongly recommend you go and that you look at them, and the link is available on the bottom of your screen. Again, we're going to be here for about an hour tonight. I am going to ask you again, please share it. And I'm going to go right into the updates that I have for you here tonight. And so I really want to start off with this. The fact that we're sitting here with you today is a really important thing. And the reason I come back with frequency and we do more than one of these events, it's because I feel and I believe that public safety agencies, those have elected officials, we're responsible to you. We're responsible to the citizens. We're here to serve the citizens. I have a responsibility not only serving the members of my organization, but also ultimately the citizens. We're here to serve you. And we want to be accountable to you. And we want to make sure that you have relevant information, that the public that we serve is informed. And that is why we do these on a regular basis, because there are a lot of dynamic things happening. The organization politically and also administratively and operationally is very dynamic, which means we move a lot. We are not static or sit still. And there's a lot of frequent updates that we need to give. And so as we go into the update, again, between now and January, February, or March, we're going to come back into you when we have relevant updates. Things are going to continue to change. But for tonight, I'm going to be hitting on some items. If I miss anything, please ask them in the Q&A. To set the table, as a reminder, it's very important to know that for the past 3 years, the fire district has been working to address what we call our challenges. The fire district has defined that we have clearly two challenges. We have a current existing service level deficit. Today, we have 3 fire stations as defined by the video. We know that we are short 3 fire stations. Our response times are double the response time of what they should be. And we need additional 3 stations for a total of 6 today to provide adequate fire and rescue response. That means our response times can get close to, or we can meet the national average and recommended average for us to respond to. But we need an additional 3 stations to do it. So we have an existing service level deficit of 3 stations. That's one challenge we're working to address. And I'll let you know in a moment what we're doing to address it. Secondarily is we have a growth challenge. We know that growth is going to continue within our 249 square miles within the city of Brentwood, the city of Oakley, and the unincorporated areas of Contra Costa County. Over the next 20 years, if you look at Brentwood, Oakley, and Contra Costa County's general plan, we know that we are going to need an additional 3 stations to provide adequate fire protection. It means appropriate response times to our service area. So today we have 3, and we know we're short 3. And we know that we're going to need an additional 3 for a total of 9 in 20 years. And so how do you address the existing service level challenges is unique in its own way to how we address the growth challenges. But the fire board has had a strategic plan, 2019, the 2023 strategic plan that we work on every day to continue to advance to address our 2 challenges. And this is what I have to update since we met with you in August. In regards to, I'm going to start with our existing service level deficits. We have been looking at feasibility of all things. We know that we're short 3 stations. That's anywhere between $12 to $15 million to be able to get an additional 3 stations online. And to be able to do so, we have been seeking feasibility of all things aside from doing an assessment or a tax. Now, with that being said, I want folks to know that the district has done the work. We've been working with engineers, and we do have in staging and on the shelf and prepared the mechanisms and means to go out and do a benefit assessment or a potential tax for 1 station, 2 station, and or 3 stations. So we've gone out and done the work to make sure that that's there if needed. But the fire district, the fire board, we've always identified that as the last case situation. We want to demonstrate we're doing our due diligence to explore all alternatives for additional revenue outside of a tax before we'd ever entertain doing one. And that's what we're continuing to do. So we do have those means in place. They're in staging, but the district is working all things feasibility. The things that we're currently to work on is we've been watching for the local measures that were going out through other entities. State Proposition 19, we were watching, and it did pass. And we were looking at the countywide half cell cent tax, Measure X, which also passed. And those are the 2 measures why we kind of just paused and didn't continue outreach. We don't want to create complexity there. So we were watching for the feasibility. And on both those mechanisms, I'll get to where we are on them. but we want to make sure if there was outside external sources bringing revenue in, that we looked at it. We've also been working with, we have a fire ad hoc. An ad hoc is members of our fire board, our elected fire board. We have 2 members that are working with Brentwood. They're positioning to work with the city of Oakley and also the county to have a regional approach to identify with their existing budgets, with their existing revenues, is there revenue that can come to the fire district to increase service levels. Our fire ad hoc has been working for some time. They're already sitting down and working with Brentwood, and they're seeking the feasibility of their existing revenues, anything they can have to contribute to the district that can be the right amount, guaranteed and sustainable to increase service levels. And our fire ad hoc continues to go through and look at the feasibility working within those with those other land use agencies. The biggest development I have to bring to you that started growing some conversation and started getting some more and more discussion, it's been highlighted since around really June or July of this past year, is the concept of consolidation with Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. Many of you that have been watching any of the town hall meetings that we've had in the past, that where we've gone out and just been able through the strategic planning process and or to just educate and inform our communities, the concept of consolidation has come up before. I've always stated to you in the past that the district has multiple times reached out and sought and looked at the opportunity for consolidation, but it was really a non-discussion starter. The district was too much of a liability, and nobody was entertained to be able to consolidate or even have the conversations to consolidate with the fire district. We're finding out now that as we continue to check feasibility, we are now in active conversations with Contra Costa County Fire, looking at the opportunity and the feasibility of consolidation. So those are the things that we're exploring in regards to feasibility. And let me give you some updates on each of them, because these are things that have developed over the past couple of months when we haven't had access to you. Measure X, as I stated, is a half-cent sales tax. And right now, the Board of Supervisors are continuing to work on a process of setting up a committee to figure out how those funds are going to be, and the committee is going to make recommendations to the board. And I strongly recommend that you watch the Board of Supervisors meetings. If you're curious to it, I'm giving you secondhand information, the best of what I know to be relevant and to be true. But they're still in the process of figuring out how those monies are going to be divided. It's very clearly pointed to, as the initiative stated, to mental health, hospitals, regional fire protection. That's where the monies are going to. And they're working out the process of the recommendations that will go in front of the Board of Supervisors of how it's divided and how it's going to be distributed. That's going to take months, a couple months to work through, but the district is monitoring and the district is watching, but it's going to take some time for that to be decided on. And again, that is done independently of the fire district, but we are engaged, and we're going to stay tuned in the months to come. We'll continue to keep you updated on those developments. Also with Proposition 19, that is a sales tax transfer initiative. We thank the assembly members and Senate members and everyone that got behind and actually highlighted the fire district in regards to the need, or the poster child of a need for additional revenue. We are still seeking and understanding, because it did pass, what it looks like in regards to how those revenues could potentially come to underfunded fire districts, which we clearly are. And so we're actively in conversations, but this stuff just passed in November. And I believe that as we get into January, February, March, these processes will begin to reveal themselves. We're just not quite there yet. Consolidation. Consolidation is the talk of the town right now, internally, externally, the whole bit. And I want to give you an update on where we've come in that process. So the fire chief at Contra Costa County Fire, Louis Burchard, one of my colleagues, we have been in conversations, and we're communicating not only with both of our respective boards, we're communicating with the members within the organization and with each other. And we have gone through one phase already of the feasibility study. And the phase 1 study was a very high level conceptual process about, is it worth going down and doing a deeper dive into consolidation, what we consider a phase 2 part of the study. Phase 1 looked at East Contra Costa Fire's existing revenues. And when they looked at East Contra Costa Fire's existing revenues, they wanted to be able to identify if they can provide equal or elevated level of services with our existing revenues. And so we went through that process, and we learned that they The phase one feasibility study showed that Contra Costa County Fire can provide approximately 5 stations with paramedics over a 2-year process with our existing revenues. And we learned that that was potentially feasible because of the economy of scale. We are 3 stations. They are closer to 30 stations, and they're not at 30 stations, but they're approximately 28 stations. And that economy of scale is, as any business knows, the smaller you are, the burden or the cost of doing business is higher. But as you build out, the cost to provide services does decrease over time. And it's just the economy of scale, and it's a business practice, and it's applicable, and it proves to show here. So that was very high level. It was very fast. We are working with a consultant to double check not only cheaper shards and my math to make sure what we're saying is accurate. And as we went through that process, it showed there was merit to it, and that is why I very much wanted to be able to demonstrate and show that we as staff made the recommendation to the board to work into phase 2. Now, the phase 2 conversation, we anticipate that the phase 2 process will end and we'll be getting board direction and potentially moving to a LAFCO consideration. But that window shows that those discussions happening between now and June. That's a really rough timeline. We'll continue to provide updates on what's going to happen, but there does show that there's feasibility. The phase 2 will either magnify that it is, and or will highlight things that we may have missed, but things look optimistic today. And we're going to continue moving forward with that. And I think that everyone needs to be staying engaged, not only with us, but Contra Costa County on how it's being done. So those are really 2 or 3 of the big things: the state, the local measures, the feasibility of consolidation. Now, I also want to say that's how we're going to be working to address the existing service level challenges. For right now, the concept of going out for a measure that is in staging and on a shelf. But there is one other thing the district is doing to work to address existing service level challenges. Right now, we know that we needed engine companies and we need resources now. We needed them yesterday. And with that being said, is the board has been discussing for the past 2 meetings, and I discussed at the finance meeting and did a presentation, and I'll be going to the board in January, talking about what can we do with our existing revenues, the monies we have, and Measure X, Prop 19, consolidation, the combination thereof, making it sustainable. Use one-time monies, interim services, increased services, and make them sustainable through those mechanisms that will unfold themselves over the next year, 21. And so we're working on looking at an interim stepping process of utilizing our existing personnel to provide maybe a squad concept. A squad is a 2-person unit to be able to provide medical aid. They don't do fire or rescue. They can support those functions, but that's not a primary task. And the goal would be that we would utilize these squads to keep the engine companies available for critical missions such as fire and rescue outside of medical aid. We would have to do this with our existing personnel, which does add added strain onto our members. We'd upstaff it when staffing would allow, and it would only be in that position of using a squad until we can fully staff an engine company. And we're exploring and looking and identifying at ways of which that we can go to be able to get to an engine company. And that is going to be a couple-month conversation, and we're working on it now. So what I want to demonstrate is the district has a tremendous amount of urgency. We have an urgency to address our existing service level deficits. But we're trying to be very wise about how we do that. We want to make sure that we check feasibility, we do the wise thing, we make the right decisions, and that we don't jump to any certain conclusions. And we want to base things that have merit and in facts and are actually what they are, right? And so this stuff does take time, but we're trying to also be creative in the interim to see what we can do within our means. So stay tuned. That information's coming, and it's going to take some time to figure it out. I also want to make sure that you are aware of what we're doing in regards to growth. So growth, again, is the people that are going to be coming here, the ones that do not exist, the developments where you see a lot of dirt throughout our communities that haven't been built on. The district historically has not had the mechanisms, and we have not been able to address growth effectively, and that's why we have a deficit here today. The district, to address growth, we're putting 2 mechanisms in place, and we've been working on this for 2 years to stop the bleeding. And we're utilizing mechanisms called impact fees which are charged a one-time fee to developers to build future stations and buy apparatus. And then we're also developing what is called a community facility district. We call community facility districts CFDs. CFDs is an annual assessment placed onto those future developments that pay for the impacts that those developments bring in. And that's an annual assessment on those future properties that will come to the district to pay for the ongoing operations. So between having the impact fees to buy station, build stations and buy apparatus to address the growth impacts, and then having the CFDs that go on every single unit as they come in to pay for the ongoing operations, will take care of the future stations and the growth to manage their impacts. I'm happy to report that the impact fees, now we have 3 different land use agencies we have to work through, so there's some complexity here. We do not have the ability to implement impact fees on our own. We have to lean upon the land use agencies. Now, the land use agencies are the City of Brentwood, the City of Oakley, and Contra Costa County. So we've worked very closely with Oakley, Brentwood, and the county, their staff, and their managers to be able to get these fees updated. I'm happy to report that in Brentwood and in the county, unincorporated areas of the county, the impact fees have been adopted. The City of Oakley, we have not had them adopted yet, and I will kind of hit pause and say that many of you may have seen that there have been correspondences and information that came out about some challenges of getting our fees updated and historical practices. What I want to highlight and say is that we have overcome a lot and we have done a lot. When I say we, I'm talking about the City of Oakley. Not only the elected officials, city staff, and the other folks, we've made some huge strides over the past 2 months. And I'm happy to report that I believe by the month of January and or February, that not only all of the obstacles that we had are going to be completely removed, all of the challenges of the district having a seat at the table and or being positioned to address development well are going to be resolved, and the impact fees should be presented back to the council for consideration of adoption in January and or February, and we're going to be moving forward, which means that the impact fees will be adopted and in place to address the build future stations and buy apparatus. And that's a huge, huge thing for the fire district to address growth. The community facility district, we have opened and started a public hearing, which has been delayed until April of 2021. But we have administratively everything in place to establish and put that CFD in place, which again will pay for the ongoing operations for the station. As of April 21, we are hoping that those mechanisms are in place. And that means that as the district continues to grow, we will not continue to be dug into a hole. And that means we've stopped the bleeding. And that is just absolutely huge. It's a huge testament to not only the fire board, but also the land use agencies, staff to be able to get it to where it went. It's a collective team effort. And again, if these mechanisms were in place in the 90s, early 2000s, we wouldn't have the existing service levels as we do today. And we can't go backwards, but we definitely go forward, and we're very close, about 6 months away, less than that, to be able to address the growth challenge. So there's a lot going on. I think there's a lot of relevant and good updates there. Again, I hope that you can see that we're doing everything we can to address not only the existing service level deficits, interim service levels along the way, and also our growth challenge. That's where I think I'm going to be hitting pause for here tonight. I do want to make sure that, again, you have access to the district's website, the archive videos that we have. And if there's any questions that you have, again, continue to populate those as the team on the back end will start sharing them with me. And then we'll continue to address your questions as we move forward. So let's jump right into the question and answers, and then we'll see where that takes us. So the question is, can you speak to the Marsh Creek residents who are worried about the CAL FIRE contract will end if there's a consolidation? Yeah, that's actually interesting to me. That's the first time I've heard that, and for that reason, I really appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And I can reassure you, there is no interest or desire for the CAL FIRE, what we call the Amador contract, to go away. And those of you who may not know what the Amador contract is, we have been partnering with CAL FIRE for a long time. They're one of our partner agencies, no differently than Contra Costa County Fire and other fire districts throughout the county. We work with CAL FIRE, obviously, throughout the year, but we have a very unique relationship with them to where they have a station. It's called the Sunshine Station on Marsh Creek, Morgan Territory area. And they staff it during summer months. And what's crazy is we're still in that season right now. As we speak, we're still in the midst of fire season. We anticipate at close to the end of the month here that is going to go out of fire season. But historically, without this unique Amador arrangement, it's called the Amador agreement that we have with CAL FIRE, is that when fire season ended, that station would go dark. So what we do is we go into contract. We have a very strong working relationship with CAL FIRE and their executive staff to be able to fund that station to keep an engine company there during what we call the winter months or non-fire season months. When they declare fire season again, our funding would stop and it would continue to move through. Those that had an opportunity to look and see at the phase one feasibility, that was very much a budget item and one thing that is within in consideration, and we need to be able to move forward. So that will be further reinforced as we work into phase two. But again, I have not heard any concerns about the Amador agreement and or the CAL FIRE station being there. And in worst case, let me say this, in worst case, and this is not the current situation, if the district didn't do the Amador contract, that station is staffed during summer months. But again, to reinforce, I do not believe, nor do I see the Amador contract discontinuing with or without consolidation. It is a resource that we've invested into for some time, and I anticipate that continue to be done so. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Next question, please. How old do you have to be to join the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District? You need to be 18 years of age. I think that more importantly, in regards to age, you need to be looking at the minimum qualification. So we have different positions. We have different qualifications. We have multiple different access points in the fire district. On the suppression side, you need to be 18 years of age. You have a firefighter 1 certificate through the state. You need to have an emergency medical technician certification, which is a nationally registered certification, driver's license. So you need to have minimum qualifications to apply to become a firefighter. We also have fire aides, which is you can be actively involved in school. You can be graduated, but that's 18 years of age and a California driver's license to be a fire aide. Our fire aides provide prevention and logistical support of all functions of the fire district, and that's another entry point. We have administrative staff, and depending upon the admin desires and capabilities that you have, it's still 18 years of age, but you need to have, depending upon the specific spot, you need different qualifications. And we have a fire prevention bureau. In our fire prevention bureau, again, 18 years of age, California driver's license, a high school diploma, but depending upon if you're looking to be a fire inspector, you want to be a deputy fire marshal, all of the certain qualifications change, and obviously more advanced, higher up it goes. But a simple answer is 18 years of age. Next question, please. How has COVID affected your staffing levels? That's a great question. COVID has impacted us to a degree. We've had short periods of time, hours, I should say, to where we've had people that have been impacted and be pulled off the line, to where an engine had to go down, but we were able to get them right back up a line within a couple of hours. We are fully staffed, and we anticipate in the very near future to still be fully staffed. One thing our citizens need to know and people need to know is we have a continuity plan that very much looks at staffing levels. If there is a major event, if we have major injuries, if there's catastrophic event, if there's medical issues, anything that can impact our staffing levels, we have a plan. We have a plan of not only being able to hold people, we have a plan to be able to move people around. We have a plan to decrease or shut down stations if the need be. And so right now, we are under what we call a stressed level. COVID is very real. It has impacted our organization, but I want folks to also know that we're in the business of keeping people safe. We're trying and we're striving every day to improve, to create even a safer. And we have what I believe to be a safe environment, not only for our members, but those that we respond to, but I don't think we'll ever be satisfied. We're always willing to grow and improve, and we stress on that every day. And so it has impacted us today because our members are having to pick up additional shifts, pick up additional work, and it is impacting us. It's putting additional strain on our members, but we're holding the line. And so, again, creating a safe environment for us and for you. I feel that we're managing it well, but it's a sensitive time because we're definitely being strained. Thank you for asking. Next question, please. Can you please explain how Prop 19 would help the fire district and differ from Measure X? That's a good question, and that's a question that we're actually exploring ourselves. So I think the fundamental differences is that you got to look at the source, right? So Prop 19 is a state initiative, Measure X is a county initiative, which means that those decisions for 19 would be happening at the state level, and they probably would have subcommittees and other processes that are defined of how those monies are divvied out. And the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors are the ultimate authority for Measure X. Now, once you get through those processes of identifying if the revenues are available to any fire district, then it's the matter of the means of which they're provided. You got to be looking at the amount, you got to be looking at the frequency, and you got to be looking at the sustainability of it. And so all of those things are what are being explored. At the end of the road, it's additional revenue. But you got to be able, as everyone that watches and knows, the fire district has guiding principles looking at revenue. We need to make sure that if revenue is coming in the fire district, it's got to be the right amount to provide the services that we desire to increase. It's got to be guaranteed, which means it's got to come to the fire district. It can't be taken away from the fire district, and it's got to be sustainable, which means that it reoccurs. It can't just happen one time. You can't get the right amount for fire to open up the fire station that is guaranteed to come to you, but it's only one time, because when the monies dry up, the services dry up, and we can't turn our services on and off like a faucet. It just doesn't work that way. And so with the state and or with the county, any fire district looking at the means or the revenues coming from are going to be looking at the same things. What's the desired level of increased services we want to provide with these new monies? How is it going to be guaranteed and reinforced that it come to the fire district, and how is it demonstrated it's going to come in on a reoccurring basis to provide the services that we need to do? And so both those mechanisms, there's a potential there, but those things have to be mined out. And please stay tuned to the meetings to come, because that's exactly what we need to articulate and demonstrate as we figure it out. Next question, please. Can you attempt to reassure residents who are worried about loss of local control if we consolidate? Yeah, that's a fair question too. I've had that question come up a good amount about local control. And that historically has been one of the reasons why people desired to not only have East Contra Costa Fire Protection District, but also an elected board. It's because they want the concept of local control. I've been hearing this regularly. I don't have an answer for you today on how that is going to be addressed. With that being said, there's many ways of which the consolidation process could look at as recommendations to be able to do that. There could be advisory boards. There is commissioners. There is ways that you can have representation from the area. Is there something you do with the existing fire board and in a transitional process? I will tell you that the phase 2 of the consolidation conversation addresses those issues, those considerations, concerns, and provides not only conclusions, but also recommendations. So for those of you, I think this is the important point to take away from that. If that is something that is important for you, please be engaged. All of our meetings provide the opportunity not only for public comment. When we have workshops or discussions on this topic, there is public comment specifically to those topics. You have a voice, you have a say, and the way of which we address those concerns throughout this conversation, you have a piece of that. When I say you, businesses and residents of our jurisdiction, we have a very open process, a way of doing business, not only at the finance meeting, but our board meetings. And so if you have that concern, or if that's a question that you want addressed, please stay engaged. Please continue to communicate, but I'm confident that will be addressed as we go through the phase 2 of the consolidation feasibility process? Great question. Next question, please. How far are we away from Station 55 opening? That all depends. Right now, we're having these two different conversations happening. Obviously, I've already hit on both of them to some degree, but let me reinforce that. The district has very clearly identified that the two next stations to open are Station 55 and Station 51, which is at Grant and Empire in Brentwood. So those are our next two stations to be open. Station 55, for those of you who don't know, that is in Oakley. It's on the eastern end of Oakley at Cypress and Bethel Island Road. It's a newly constructed building. We have our administrative staff and prevention personnel working out of that building. So although it's not staffed, it is being used. If we were to staff that building, we have to find a place to put our administrative staff and our prevention personnel. We do need to invest some money to be able to get the station operational. We did not put a lot of the things that clock start, they deteriorate over time, and we didn't want to install and put things into place that we weren't staffing. And so we have an investment of $200,000 to $500,000 into that station to make it operationally ready. We would have to move the administrative staff, but 55 is very much one of the first two stations that we're looking to open, and then Station 51 needs to be constructed and opened. And in the interim, if we had revenues for two stations, we'd have to look at dual staffing or alternative housing for members as we work through that process. The time frame to get it staffed, we're going to continue to discuss this. I discussed this at our finance meeting actually on Monday. I introduced the concept of not only that two-person squad concept, but also the path to promote people and to hire people to be able to have a fourth engine company. And then we did talk about not only apparatus considerations, the station locations, the complexities between the different locations. So 55 and 51, they're both the next ones to open. Now, the time frame to open them is subjective because we need to have the people. We have access to the revenues and the long-term sustainability. It appears that Measure X, consolidation, or the combination thereof, make upstaffing sustainable. Right now, we're discussing about promoting and hiring and placing and the time frame to get it done. We just started the conversation at the November board meeting. We talked about it finance in December, and the December board meeting, December finance meeting, and I'll be doing a presentation at the January board meeting and seeking funding for the squad, the two-person company, starting early in 21 with board approval, and then talking about the complexities of upstaffing, and then how do we be disciplined and be wise as we are looking at consolidation and making sure decisions we make now, when and if that becomes a reality, that we're not creating problems down the road and working in a collaborative effort to make sure we're making wise decisions. And so I want to address, I'm very clearly not saying when it's going to open, but upstaffing and hiring people. Now, consolidation demonstrates that if we have the revenues to be able to to go through the consolidation process, that we're looking at potentially March window, tentatively, March, April window of 2022. We as East Contra Costa Fire, Contra Costa, all of us are concerned about that time frame. What can we do in the interim? And that's what we're trying to address. So I would say worst case situation, March, April of 22. What can we do in the interim is what we're trying to figure out. So stay tuned. That's a very fair question. Next question, please. How many backup rigs does East Contra Costa Fire have? Well, we have our three frontline engines. We have now. I also want to specify we have multiple pieces of equipment. So we have not only what we call Type 1s, which are our structural firefighting engines. They run medical aids. They go to vehicle accidents. They're our platform for a good majority of all of our operations. We also have wildland apparatus, which is the off-road units that we do for vegetation fires and smaller access points and four-wheel drive piece of equipment. And we also have water tenders that have approximately 3,000 gallons of water on them that will roll tandem or together. Two vehicles that will go and we'll use in unhydrated areas. And it's a mobile fire hydrant with 3,000 gallons of water. So with our type 1s, we have approximately 5 spares. On our type 3s, we have no spares. And our and our water tenders, we have 1 spare. And so we're able to cycle our apparatus and rotate them through. We have a capital equipment replacement plan that looks at taking our frontline engine, makes them the backup engines, and then we surplus them as they move forward. We do have some bandwidth to upstaff additional engines. Obviously, the stations and the complexity in doing so is something we're going to be discussing in the months to come. But with our frontline engines that we use a majority of the time, we are so much better positioned. Thank you to the fire board for approving the purchase of the 2 new fire engines we got online just in the last couple of months. They're a great enhancement to our service levels to provide better service and reliability. But we do have multiple reserve type 1s. But I hope that addresses the question. Next question, please. I thank you. Thank you for the thank you. Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you. Thank you. Well, look at that. There's a pause. So look, I'm going to wait and see if anything else pops up here. Again, we're going to be coming back to you in the early 21. I'm not going to do these just to do these. I don't like having meetings just to have meetings. I don't do these just to do it. I want to make sure that I have a lot of substance to be able to share and prevent. I have to balance between not overcorrecting or waiting too long, and so it's a very fine balance. I don't make those decisions independently. I got a very good support staff and consultants to be able to educate and recommend when we do this. And I also want to hit on that. What you're seeing here tonight, it isn't just about hitting go live and making this happen. There is a tremendous amount of people that make this possible to be able to educate, inform, and make sure that I'm doing my job well and people hold me accountable to communicating effectively. There's so many people that you don't see that make this all reality, and we're at year end, and it's something I want to highlight because I don't take their services for granted. I also don't take any of the firefighters, any of my staff, the fire board, you active citizens. Look, there's many of you, and you know who you are, that continue to challenge the fire district. Thank you. We are not, we don't see that in a negative way. We appreciate the criticism as much as you can because we do strive operationally to get better every single day. And we are not afraid of work. We are not afraid of digging in deep, doing the things that we need to do the feasibility to make the organization better. And so listen, I am your fire chief, and this is your fire district. If you're a citizen of Brentwood, Oakley, and the rest of the areas that I already previously identified within our jurisdiction, we are here to move the organization forward, and it's going to take all of us. It takes the land use agencies, it takes elected officials, it takes the citizens, it takes the businesses, it takes the firefighters, it takes labor, which is the representation of the firefighters and our administrative staff, my administrative staff, and the fire board. The strives and the things that we have done over the past 3 years is because of what we have done. And as difficult as 2020 has been, it's been a banner year. It's been a banner year of moving this organization into a realm of where we've never been before. And so as we work to conclusion, again, we will be back. Although we're not doing these, understand my email's on the district's website, my cell phone number's on the district's website. If you live in our jurisdiction, I'm your fire chief, I'm accessible to you. Continue the conversation. Continue to ask me questions. If I'm not clear about things, continue to let me know, because we are listening. We do care. We have a tremendous amount of urgency. And so to kind of put a bow on it, to conclude, again, to the firefighters, thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. You're in a tough spot. You're in a tough spot. And I know there's many people trying to fix this. And that's my Christmas wish, is in 21 it's being fixed. And I will also say that we, as the fire board and the fire chief specifically, I'll speak for myself, we are not married on how we fix this place. What I'm saying is there's no recipe that we won't take in regards to making sure that we can make sure this organization, the service levels in this community are fixed. And so we have so many ingredients right now to make a very good recipe to fix the historical challenges, they increase the service levels, and they get it done. And I'm confident that not only will we make the wise decisions, We will do everything we can to make the right decisions in a very transparent way, working with you to where 2021 will be a banner year. So happy holidays. Thank you. I appreciate your engagement. I appreciate what you do. Have a very, very safe holiday, and be safe. Talk soon. Thank you.